You know, what if I told you that the biggest crisis in education today isn't about getting kids into school, but about what happens once they're actually sitting at their desks? Millions of children are in classrooms day after day, but they aren't learning even the most basic things. But what if the fix wasn't some billion-dollar tech platform, but a surprisingly simple idea? Okay, let's get into it.
So, first things first, we need to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this problem. This isn't just a small issue in a few places. We're facing a silent, global learning crisis that honestly threatens the future of an entire generation. And the numbers, well, they're staggering.
Get this. According to the World Bank, a shocking 70% of children in low and middle-income countries can't even read and understand a simple story by the end of primary school. Just let that sink in for a second. That's 7 out of every 10 kids being left behind, even though they're showing up to school every single day.
The economist Lamp Pritchett just nailed it with this quote. The whole problem is right there. We've become so obsessed with getting kids enrolled in school that we've kind of forgotten the whole point, for them to actually learn something. So why? Why is this happening on such a massive scale?
Well, a huge part of the problem is baked right into the structure of a traditional classroom. Most are built on this rigid, one-size-fits-all model that, it turns out, just doesn't work for a massive number of students.
This analogy is perfect. Imagine you're in a class, and you haven't quite figured out how to add or subtract yet. But the teacher, they're moving on to multiplication tomorrow, no matter what. The curriculum is tied to your age, not what you actually know. So the class marches on, and kids who fall behind just get left further and further behind. It's a cycle of failure that feels almost impossible to break.
And you can really see the difference in philosophy right here. The traditional approach, on the left, is all about the curriculum. It teaches to the textbook and just hopes the kids can keep up. But the other approach, this TaRL approach, flips that whole idea on its head. It starts with the child, figures out where they are, and teaches to their level.
And that right there brings us to the solution. It's an approach that started in India with an amazing NGO called Pratham. It's called Teaching at the Right Level, or TaRL for short. And the best part? It's not about fancy new technology or giant budgets. It's about a fundamental shift in how we think about teaching.
So what does that actually mean? Well, the big idea is to basically hit pause on grade levels for part of the day. You start by figuring out what each kid actually knows, and based on that, you group them with other kids at the same skill level. This way, you can teach them exactly what they need to learn right now to catch up and eventually to really thrive.
So let's break down how this idea actually works on the ground. The real beauty of TaRL is just how simple and practical it is. It's all about dynamic, hands-on learning that meets kids exactly where they are. Okay, so it boils down to these 4 basic steps. First up, you assess. A quick, simple tool helps you find every child's true level. Second, you group them based on that assessment, so all the beginners are together and the more advanced kids are together. Third, you teach, using fun, interactive activities that are tailored for each specific group. And finally, and this is so important, you readjust. As a kid gets better, they move up to the next group. It's not static. It's a living, breathing system.
And listen, this isn't about boring drills and memorization. It's about making learning feel like a game. You might see one group playing with letter cards and pictures to finally master the alphabet, while another group is outside counting with sticks and stones to get the hang of basic math. The more advanced kids, they might be reading stories together or even acting out sentences. The goal is simple. Make learning active, engaging, and, honestly, fun again.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? Well, the evidence from all over the world is, frankly, incredible. The results aren't just a little positive, they're absolutely transformative. Just look at this. This data is from a program in Kenya. Before they started TaRL, only 30% of the students could read a simple story. But after just 8 weeks, that number literally doubled to 60%. That's not a small tweak, that is a genuine breakthrough.
And you might be wondering if Kenya was just a fluke. Nope, not at all. This is not a one-off success story. The impact is incredibly consistent everywhere it's tried. Look at India, Zambia, Côte d'Ivoire. You see these huge double-digit jumps in both reading and math skills. It proves that the model works, and it can be adapted to all sorts of different places.
So the success of TaRL really forces us to ask a much bigger question. This isn't just about one specific program. It's about a whole new way of thinking about education itself. It challenges some of the most basic assumptions we have about how a classroom is supposed to work.
When you boil it all down, it really comes to this. For way too long, we have tried to force the child to fit the system. TaRL's success proves the incredible power of flipping that around, fitting the system to the child. It's a simple but profound shift. Stop teaching the curriculum and start teaching the actual kid who's sitting right in front of you.
And that leaves us with one last, big thought. The breakthrough with TaRL came from challenging a single, basic assumption. The kids in the same grade should all be learning the same thing at the same time. If fixing that one simple flaw can unlock learning for millions of children, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other huge, obvious, and powerful solutions are we overlooking right now?